Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Welcome to the 10th episode of The Grant, the EU funding podcast, and the 8th episode in the timeline series that I'm building up here. In this episode, we will be narrowing in on the coordination and the coordinator role, to be a coordinator and to find a coordinator. And it's quite vital for everything. It's not on purpose that I have waited to this part in the timeline series, because actually focusing on the coordinator should actually be done a little earlier, so to say, in the process, already in the phase where you develop the concept and in the partner build up, you need to have the focus on getting a coordinator if you don't have one. But what sometimes happens is that the coordinator at this is not settled until this stage, after you've started building the consortium, and after you have started to reach out and settling things. It happens quite often that the coordinator is only settled then. I will get back to that when I dig into this episode. First, to run through the key elements of this episode, I will look at who is normally a coordinator. Then I will look at what it is to be a coordinator. Then I will go through the process of choosing a coordinator. And finally, how to find a coordinator if you need one. So let's just jump right at it, at the subject of who is normally a coordinator. Well, normally it's the idea owner. It's most often it is the organization with most at stake. So a normal example is a university. If we're talking a research project, then a university, a research organization would take the leading role. If it's their research team, if it's the research concept comes from them. Also, if you have a private company that takes it, it would be often the company where the idea comes from, or where the technological challenge that they're dealing with, it's their idea that needs to be rolled out. They would often pick up that. So I say the one with something at stake. If it happens that the one that owns the idea is not up to the task or doesn't want to take it, then it would normally, or often, it's a collaboration partner of the one with something at stake that they usually work together with, also bilaterally or commercially or so on. So a strong contact of the idea owner that knows, or where there's an internal understanding that the idea owner itself cannot pick it up, but that one can pick it up. It can be a university, a research team, research organization that normally works with a company that picks it up, or it can be an association or whatever organization that the idea owner is collaborating with. Here, if the idea owner doesn't want, and if they don't have a collaboration partner that is natural to pick it up, then you need to look. So that I will get back to when I reach down to finding a coordinator at the end of this episode. Who is normally a coordinator organization, so to say? It normally the organization that is a coordinator, they normally have the administrative muscles to carry out to allocate a person or a team to deal with that. They have a system built up, organizational ICT system that deals with project registration, project management, and so on. Often, if it's private, it's a medium to large company. Some SMEs pick it up. We like to see both public project facilitators and privates as myself. We like to see SMEs to pick it up because the commission likes this. But normally, if it's private, it's medium to large companies. Then you have the universities and private research organizations. They often have a setup of project administrative office that runs many projects at the same time. Or you will also see large innovation clusters, sometimes small, but clusters, associations, industrial associations, European umbrella association and clusters, they also pick up this role on a regular basis. Being a coordinator, it requires some stamina. You need to understand how to coordinate many different things, and I will get into that in exactly the next subject. So maybe I should just bridge it here. So let's just move on to the next element exactly. Being a coordinator. This is a generic episode, and there are so many things that you can discuss and talk about and reflect on when it comes to being a coordinator. So I will have episodes as I move on with my guests, with the advisory board that I have made, discussing, reflecting, giving more input on this exact thing of being a coordinator. So this should be seen as an introduction or just an overview of things. So I tried to dot it down, what it is to be a coordinator. I've tried it myself once in a big FP6 project many years ago. So I tried it on my own body, but it's some years ago. But I've seen it and I've been advising others on this. So this is just the things that I've dotted down. First of all, you're the official connection between the EU Commission and the consortium. So you're the spider in between those two webs, so to say. You're also the one responsible for leading the contract negotiations on behalf of the consortium. In this respect, you will, if you win the project, there will be contract negotiations with the Commission on the conditions for the project, and there you will be the one dealing with that. So first thing. Second, you are responsible for securing that the project deliverables are met. So everything that you promise, everything you need to carry out, and everything that you say, we will reach this and this and this, you are the one that are making sure that the work are progressing in the work packages to meet those, to be able to deliver those deliverables to the Commission. Again, you're the spider in the work package net, so to say, in the middle of the work package net. So you will have close contact to all work package leads in the project, to making sure and keeping a firm hand on where things are moving in the work, out in the tasks and the activities in the work packages. Also, that everything is progressing right away. It can be coordination on if some work packages activities are reliant on other work packages and their activities. If then things are delayed, which will delay again the next activities or the next activities, then you're the one that needs to take some action and make sure that you coordinate and make a plan B or C to make sure that you will fulfill what you have promised the Commission by the end date of the project. Some of these things I will get back to in a later episode in the timeline series when we move towards submission and what happens in the project. So that's the securing project deliverables. Thirdly, you are the organizational lead. You are responsible for all logistical practicalities, meetings, annual, biannual, quadannual consortium meetings. You're responsible for sending invitations out. You're responsible for organizing the meetings, setting them up. You are always conducting the meetings, leading the meetings at the consortiums. You are going a lot to be in the presentation spotlight, so to say, in these meetings, because you're the focal point, so organizational head figure, so to say, that everybody is looking at and following, so to say, in the group of the partners. Fourth, you are the one in charge of any legal issues arising. So this happens that there are legal disturbances, so to say, in between partners, things that needs to be handled, and you are the one that is mediating before it gets legal. So you're the one that is responsible of mediating and securing that things don't get out of hand. And if it continues into actual legal elements or outright lawsuits, then you're also the one that needs to take care of this, to roll this out, whatever action needs to be taken. It can be soft or hard, whatever. It's that can be rough. I tried it myself in the project that I coordinated. This happened. I had a senior with me that helped me with this. But this is something that you're also part of the responsibility. So in terms of hours covered by the commission, you get the funding covering a full-time employee, more or less. Rule of thumb is that funding for coordination, that funding part is covering 7 to 10%, so to say, of a full EU project budget. It depends a little bit, of course, on the amount, the full amount of the project budget. But I would say it's not uncommon to see a budget of 300,000 euros ish for coordination, between 200 and 300,000 ish. So that's that. If you are a private company involved in an innovation action project, then it's only 70% covered, and that's of course annoying for private companies that lift this task, but that's just part of the game, unfortunately. Before many years ago in FP6, I think also maybe in FP7, as far as I remember, the coordination was fully covered no matter what kind of organization you were. But that's, it's like this. Now, in terms of capacities in your organization, you need to have your organizational systems ready to run project-related registrations, project registration and management, like our registration of hours, registration of salary and so on, in relation to the project. This is required. You have to have this set up, and this is also part of what the commission is requiring. So when you ask for this role, if you're too small an organization, the commission says if you are a micro company, 1 or 2 employees, they normally don't let you take this role because there's too big a chance that things are not, all these things that you have to have in place are not there. As mentioned, there are many more things to be said about being coordinated, but this is generic. So I'm just going to move a little bit on to the advantage, some of the last elements here of being a coordinator, and then I will get back to it when I have some guests on board where we can discuss this, of people that have actually been coordinating projects. Now, the advantage of being a coordinator, it's very important because all the things that I mentioned above is something where you need to keep up at speed, so to say, as an organization. It requires that you step up, so to say, if you pick this role. However, that investment is not lost on you, so to say. There's a return on investment, so to say. So, because the advantages of being a coordinator is that you stand in the middle of everything. So all information passes through you. Of course, all the organizational stuff, but the content stuff as well. So you get a close contact with everybody. Not all partners in the project, they get a close contact with everybody. They will get a close contact with the ones they collaborate with in the specific work packages or specific tasks that they're doing. But you will be the one that you are in contact with everybody. So you see everything. So the content and the networking part. So most coordinators, they take a strong advantage post-project, after the project. So upcoming proposals, they suddenly appear to them in project invitations, bilateral collaboration, spin-off businesses, and so on. It all, when you take this role and you roll out a project over 3 or 4 years, afterwards you suddenly start to be invited, and you can start to choose. You can start to, if you are fine with, if it's good for your organization to do EU funded projects, then you suddenly stand in a place where you can pick flagship projects suddenly that are most likely to win. You stand in a place where your networking is boosted dramatically. Positive networking around what you do, and the bilateral collaboration. So there will be both partners in the project, but also in their network will say, this went well, and they have a strong hand on this and this. Then suddenly you are finding yourself moving into a place where where you have a commercial relationship with your private company or researchers suddenly into a research collaboration on specific things that is a spin-off of what you do. So it's this is a huge advantage, and it is something that should be, you should take advantage of it as much as you can, because there is a large work in being a coordinator, but you should take advantage of it. So here I'm moving towards the end of what it is to be a coordinator. But what you need to be aware of is that in the proposal phase, you're often the key partner that drives things forward. Either you are the one, or you're the one together with the consultants if you are having a consultancy company helping you. So this is, you are the one that is having the torch in the hand, and this is also what makes the best proposals. If the coordinator and the idea owner is the one that is driving things forward and pushing people for delivering the input you need. Before moving on to how to choose a coordinator, if you're not the one, but you need to choose one, I just need to mention that you sometimes have a difference between technical coordinator and administrative coordinator. So here, this is the coordinating role. Normally you should do everything, both the content and the administration, but sometimes you split it up. And then, so if you're a technical coordinator, you will focus on all the content part of the project when it runs. And then another organization would take the administrative part of logistical, meetings, arrangements, sending reports to the commission. Yeah, I forgot. I have to add that. You need to be aware of that. So I think the fifth element that is part of being coordinator, you are responsible for submitting the reporting to the commission on the progress of the project. So you will have interim reporting, and you will have reporting at the end of the project. So the reporting is divided up into the content. So reporting to the commission halfway through the project, the interim, on the progress of the content, how far you are, if everything runs as planned, or if some things have been delayed, or if you're faster finished with some of the elements and so on. And then, so in the interim, halfway through the project, you only have to report on content. In the final reporting, when the project has been finalized, you both report on all content, and you report on the financial elements of the project. So the money that you spend, how you use the funding received from the commission, and if there's any divergences on that. You're responsible for collecting the data, writing the documents, and submitting them to the commission. So that was just an important add-on. So I think that's covered. So I will now move on to choosing a coordinator. So choosing a coordinator, that is of course needed if you are not the one. So if you don't have one, if you have a consortium coming along, this happens all the time, that wants to do something towards a goal, and somebody might have an idea that you can build on from an old proposal or something that they've been doing. You've been starting to networking around it to gather some partners and so on, but no one wants to take the coordinating role, or nobody has put themselves at the spot. Then you land in this situation that you need to choose. Try to choose in between the partners that you have. So this can be one of the trickiest things to deal with in the whole pre-writing process, because if you don't have one, you need to see who can take the role. Because if you don't find one, then your proposal falls. Then it's all, everything that you want to do, everything that you enthusiastically have been discussing in the group or wants to do, there's beautiful things, it all disappears. It evaporates into thin air, like water at the sun. If no one is willing to pick up the coordinating role, then you have no project. And it's a tricky discussion sometimes, because many do not want to pick it up because of the resources you need to put into it, even though it's covered by the commission. And if no one is natural, so if you have a group and no one stands out in the group that you would say, couldn't you pick it up? Then you need to see if you should get a partner on board that can take it. And in this situation, I normally try different approaches. So first of all, I try to talk people into it. I even a little bit pushy, putting a squeeze on it, both with kindness, but also say, look, shouldn't you do this to save this proposal? And I normally focus on the ones that I know have capacity or that have done it before. Yeah, someone who has shown the ability to do it. And then if it's still kind of a stalemate, then I start a discussion on different solutions on, for instance, where one would take the administrative coordination, as just mentioned, and another one takes the technical coordination of the content. Sometimes you can also get a consultancy company to pick the administrative coordination if a consultancy company is on board. There's all kinds of solutions you can try around to solve it. I would say it's rarely that I see my proposals fall, especially at a later stage. If you have a concept, if you have a strong consortium, then you would also be able to get a coordinator on board. And this is, I will talk a little bit about that in a second when talking about finding a coordinator if you can't get one within the consortium. Yeah, then I put here in my notes that in relation to choosing a coordinator, it's important, the call type is important, because if it is an innovation action call, and remember, innovation actions, those are the call types that is mostly directed towards innovation, meaning industry, so applied research, applied innovation type projects. And here, any private organization that joins industry, SMEs and so on, they are only reimbursed 70% by the Commission. But the problem here is that especially in exactly innovation action, the EU, they don't say it, but they expect the coordinator to be a private organization, because they want the industry to take lead on innovation actions, because they are industry leaning those calls. So they want the industry to put the hand on the cooking plate and drive it forward. But so it's a paradox that they want them to take the lead, but they only reimburse the 70%. And that's sometimes a tricky element that can stop things from happening. This has been I've tried some very difficult proposals I was building up where I had to deal with this problem. It's just important to be aware of. But let's just bridge it into finding the coordinator if no one really wants in the group you have. If you can get one of the existing partners to lift it, then we need to find one. So you need to look at the partner value chain that you have outlined and try to move strategically towards possible new partners that would be strong enough to lift the coordinating role. This can be quite difficult. What a place to start, what I do, is to identify old projects funded by the Commission within the field, within the sector you're dealing with, and check who coordinated those. So you will get a list. You can get those on the participants portal. You also have some other tools available. Participants portal would be the most generic one. So here you can identify through keywords, find projects, and see who coordinated those. What you should, of course, also always do, you should always check the current partners network. So push and squeeze them that you already have in the consortium to help and identify someone that could pick it up. And this sometimes helps if you're not the only one that looks. If you kind of spread it out through the network of the partners. Now, to attract a good coordinator, the quality of especially your concept node and the profile of your consortium is vital. So this is where it really comes into force. If you did a very good job in developing your concept note, if you really have your concept idea strong and well worked through, and if your partner search has resulted in a solid draft consortium, then it's gonna be so much easier for you to get that organization on board that will also take the coordination, because the more developed the concept note and the stronger the consortium is, the easier it is to get one on board, since chances of success of the proposal is good. If all these things are not good, if the concept note is a little blurry, or if the consortium is lacking some big holes, then you're going to find it difficult. And I have myself tried to struggle early in my career with these things and having to folding things because we couldn't find a coordinator. Happened last year. The fact is of all this is that this element of the phase stage towards submission. This is one of the key reasons why proposals fall. And therefore it should be on the top of your list of attention at an early stage of the process. So the place that this podcast episode is in the timeline series, and actually put it a little back, you need to be aware of it, because you will find yourself wasted energy and wasted efforts if you wait too long with addressing the coordinating issue. No, we're moving towards the end. The toughest challenge. The grant. Let's have a look at that. So for the proposal phase, the toughest challenge in relation to the coordinator is definitely to find a coordinator if you don't have one. It can take a lot of time and resources to get to do that work, to identify and to talk someone into it, either talk someone into it or identify the one. And I would say here, to solve this issue, you really need to play on the full facilitating piano, networking piano, to find one. You use the partners in the group. Use your own network. Spread the messages try to find new ways in your network to build up a more network. Reach out. Use your desktop research capacities to identify one. This is one of the rough parts of the work, definitely. In relation to being the coordinator, if you are a coordinator, so the role, so to say, so in the process of developing the proposal, the toughest challenge is to get the partners to rally fully behind your idea and deliver the input needed on time. But you have a big role to play yourself if you are a coordinator, because you are the one that will put enthusiasm, show your enthusiasm and your will to build this up. And so you're the one that will have a direct effect on the consortium to see that they need to rally behind you. And they will do that if you're pushy enough, because if you say, but then if I can't even get input from you in this phase, how are we going to work together? Then I will just work with somebody else. Then they will start to work. So you have a big say, but that is the toughest challenge for the coordinator in the process of the proposal. That's that. For the next episode, I'm slowly moving towards the actual writing process. So the next episode, I will look into what to do in the pre-writing phase before you put the pen to paper, and then I will slowly move into the actual proposal document and how to deal with that in that process. Thanks for listening to the end of this episode. I hope you are enjoying this initiative. Bye. The grant. You have been listening to The Grant, the EU funding podcast.